It's time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Hey, wait, we're here. Come on. You're on his back.
Jeanette Halsworth says she recorded this video Monday around 8 p.m. after hearing a commotion near her home on Lawton and Fruitdale Avenues. The video shows at least 3 San Jose police officers holding down a homeless man they called Oscar.
His knee was pressed into his face, pushing his face into the dirt. That's what I'm trying to say. And so I just ran straight up to them. I was like, guys, get off him. Like, the first thing it came to mind was seeing the video of George Floyd in 2020. And I was like, we don't.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
That was just a small clip of the litany of bystanders in San Jose, California, the Bay Area, whining and crying about the treatment of a suspect by 3 brutal San Jose officers. It also didn't show where it did absolutely have a video of an officer throwing haymakers at that suspect. The NAACP has filed a formal complaint. The mayor and the police department are looking into this, and my response is, just like yesterday when we were talking about we need to get all the facts, is before people like this non-binary appearing person, I don't want to assume their gender.
Non-binary.
I don't know if it was, I don't want to assume.
You mean the butch-looking white woman?
Okay, I don't want to assume anyone's gender.
The butch-looking
right?
white woman.
I want to be polite, but she was very angry at the police. She brought up the memory of George Floyd, and she was very mad. But here are some details, Quanell. There's a man, an unhoused man that is in this neighborhood that has been looking into a woman's window right up close. Apparently the day before, he was not merely playing Peeping Tom, he was doing so while he had his penis out and was massaging his own penis while staring at this woman, right? And of course, this time, the second time in as many days, is he was again in the woman's window, which is a horrifying violation of a person's sense of privacy and safety. Same man, same MO. Police are called. They actually come out, which is unusual in San Jose that you get a rapid response enough to catch a criminal. But they get out there, they catch him, and what does he do? He bites a police officer. And there's a huge difference. You know, obviously in the George Floyd video, prior to them pressing on him and asphyxiating and killing him, he was being somewhat obstinate. He slid across and fell at the car. He was really doing everything he could to convince them and to physically prevent them from putting them in jail without assaulting the officers, without physically resisting in a way that could harm any. So there's really no analog, right? There's nothing in between the murder of George Floyd and this well-deserved whooping that this guy took for being a pervert. And you can't beat someone for being a pervert. I'm not mad at someone for beating a pervert that is terrifying young women, but you can't do that. But when someone bites you, right, which it can convey all kinds of diseases, from HIV and hepatitis to a number of other diseases, you get to make sure that he doesn't get another chance to bite you. And if that means shoving his face in the ground, it's okay. When someone bites you, you get to use the force necessary to effect the arrest, and that includes punching somebody. And let me tell you something, if you're gonna shove someone's face in the ground and punch somebody, well, this, and it wasn't just her, there were a long list of I didn't see anyone trying to protect the woman who was being spied on and terrified, right? They weren't out there worried about her, but they're out there worried about the homeless, biting, jacking it pervert, which just shows you how screwed up they are in California.
Charles, first of all,
I know, team pervert. Go ahead.
There is some aspects of the video that is disturbing to me. And if police went too far in restraining and arresting him and violated his human, civil, and constitutional rights, then if he was handcuffed like it appeared to be and they were still kneeing him and punching him, that's going too far. But I think it's important that we put the whole story in context. To all of those people who were angry with the police for arresting him using such physical brute force, we don't want to see the man violated and treated unfairly. But wait a minute. To all of them, to the woman, the white woman who was on the video, do you care
There are
about
upset people of color, too.
If you care that much about that homeless man and you're the neighbor, well then tell him to come to your house and let him pull out his penis and choke his chicken in your window and stare at you. Since you're so liberal with your understanding and like he shouldn't be treated like that, well then let the freak come look through your window and play with himself and then see how you feel. Look, man, that dude, that pervert, if he's really guilty of that, if he was really doing that, Charles, he's lucky to make it out alive. Because there's some men and some fathers and some sons and some brothers and some uncles and also neighbors, if you catch a man beating his meat and choking his chicken in your wife or your family members' windows, then you gonna kill him. He's lucky to make it out alive. I think that that's a little bit too much sympathy that we show to a pervert, a sexual predator who's staying in the windows of women, stroking his chicken and strangling his meat and having fun looking in somebody's window. Can you imagine the sheer terror that he puts into any woman who catches him doing that? Can you imagine this same dude may have been doing that to little girls' windows in the neighborhood? I don't see a whole lot of sympathy for this man at all. In fact, a good kicking is exactly what he needed, and taken straight to the jailhouse, because in jail, when they find out what he's been doing, he's gonna have some bigger problems.
Well, I mean, we live in this, especially in big cities in California, but big cities across this country, where you've seen this hard left turn where they think that if we are non-responsive to crime, it'll lower crime stats, thus create the appearance of safety without actually having to achieve safety. So you don't have officers that show up quickly a lot of times. And I'm not blaming the rank and file officers, although there are plenty of them who are embracing the excuse to be lazy, there are still a number of good cops, right? And it would have been very easy for a cop just to drive by and say he didn't see anything.
But there are far too many cops who are doing bad things.
No, there's not. There's far too many cops not doing enough work.
Yes, there's far too many cops
But
who
these
doing
cops
bad things.
went out and found this guy, right? And honestly, I believe the only reason that NAACP is filing a formal complaint and upset is because of the color of the pervert's skin. I don't think the NAACP cared if it was a white pervert, right? I don't think anyone should. Look, if this guy was truly masturbating while on other people's property,
he deserves no sympathy.
I just
he
don't
deserves
care,
no sympathy,
right? And if he goes even further, and when they try to arrest him, he fights, runs, and bites an officer. Man, come on.
But let me say this to you, Charles.
Because I know you'd have beat him to the hospital.
Oh, hell yeah,
and drug him inside.
Hell yeah, I would have. But let me say this to you, if not worse. But Charles, too many cops, and I've seen this quite a bit in cases that come to my desk. Cops will beat the hell out of a suspect, know what they did was wrong, and then what they'll do, they'll lie and say, well, he kept resisting when the suspect was not resisting. They'll take tasers and taser the suspects and put your hands behind your back, and when you're being tasered like that, you can't put your hands behind your back, and they pretend like that's resisting. And then what the cop will do is turn around and say, well, the perp assaulted me, and so I'd use that force which was necessary because I also was a victim of an assault.
Well,
then later to learn when the video comes out, the suspect never assaulted the cop. So Charles, there are some cops who are out there, far too many in my opinion, in these police departments that try to cover up physical abuse of suspects by lying and saying they were victims of assault themselves.
So when we had this promulgation of cameras, which I think cameras protect good cops from bad people and good people from bad cops, but we did have and still have officers that will yell, stop resisting, simply for the camera, simply. And obviously when someone's done something wrong, they're gonna search for a reason to cover it and protect it. But I think far more often in America, we are allowing people to get away with being violent, with being assaultive, with doing the things that they should get touched up for, because people are concerned about this knee jerk, what we saw here. We didn't see all the interviews, but this knee jerk, cops are bad, bad guys good, that these people like this one person, and I don't think anyone's going to her house. I think if you go to her house and peep in the window, you're probably going to the next house, or if it's her, not an attractive person. But they're angry, and
Are you being homophobic?
their anger.
Are you being homophobic?
No, I'm just saying
I
the
think
person
you're being
wasn't
homophobic.
I'm just saying they weren't attractive.
Yes, I think you're being
I wasn't
homophobic.
gendering at all. But here's
I
the
know
thing.
she looked like being a Bob from the mechanic shop, but I think you're being homophobic.
Okay. Anyhow, I'm just jealous of the haircut. I wish I could grow it. But anyhow, I think that we need to stop saying always cops the bad guy, cops the bad guy. Because there are some people that bring a punch to the face on themselves.
That's true,
and we need to get back to America where those people are getting punched in the face.
Got
and
to hold cops accountable that go too far.
Please help me understand this. My lights got turned off, so I called my baby's father and asked him if he could get my lights turned on for me. He said no, because I have a husband and that's his responsibility. How is that his responsibility to pay my lights to get turned back on after they get turned off? That you have kids that stay here. You don't care about your kids? I understand that I have a husband, granted, don't beat me up over it, but we fell on hard times. So as my baby's father, I feel like you're supposed to pick up the slack. So you rather for your kids be in the dark than to help your baby mother get her lights turned back on? What if I didn't have a husband? Would you have helped me then? These men is crazy. Sir, help me get my lights turned on. Don't.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, that was a pretty wild video, man, of what we just watched and what we just witnessed. Apparently a woman who is divorced from her ex-husband, her children's father, she's remarried now, has fallen on financial hard times, and her lights were turned off. So she reached out to the ex-husband, who's the father of those children, and say, listen, my lights are turned off. Can you help me get them turned back on? Because we're in the dark. And he said, no, because you have a new husband, that is his responsibility. He's absolutely right. That is the responsibility of your new husband. Yes, it is. But to the ex-husband, who's the father of those children, it's also your responsibility to make sure your children are in a safe, healthy, clean, living environment that's productive for their proper development. So what he should have done is say, I'll come by and pick up my children and let them live with me and stay with me until you're able to get your lights turned back on. But if it was one of my ex-wives, Charles, and I have a couple of them, I have to be honest, if one of my ex-wives who's remarried, and they are, had called me and said, look, the lights are turned off. Can you help me get the lights turned back on? Even though she's remarried, I would have did it. And the reason why I would have done it is because my children are there. You understand? And so as a father who loves his children, when I love myself, I'm gonna look out for my children. And I'm gonna tell her, hey, look, you and your man need to get it together and get my money back to me. But what I don't also like was why the new husband didn't tell his wife, don't you dare do nothing like that. If I got to go on the corner and beg for the money, I'll beg for it. Or why did the new husband say, let me call your ex-husband, explain the situation to him and say, hey man, can you loan us the money and I'll get it right back to you as soon as we get it. But I don't want the children and us to be in the dark right now, but I'm gonna get it right back to you, brother. Be a man and call the ex-husband yourself. Don't put your new wife up to call her ex-husband to get some money that you don't have. The lights are turned off. But that woman is crazy as hell, because it's not his responsibility to take care of you and your new man. It's not your ex-husband's responsibility to make sure you and your new man got lights. Now, what if, Charles, the ex-husband said to her the next week, well, look here, baby, I've fallen on some lonely times. And just like you said, you fell on hard financial times. Well, I've got some lonely times over here, and I need something over here. You need to come over here and fall that's hard on for you, honey. So come on over here and fall on something hard, like I stood up with my pocket for you when you had financial hard times. Well, I'm lonely and hard over here. Why don't you come fall on this over here for me so I can feel better? See, she wouldn't like that. She would feel that's wrong. First thing she would say, what? I got a husband. Hell yeah, you got one. But it was okay to say I still got a husband, but give me some money, we get my lights turned back on. But if the roles were reversed, what would her response be? And what would the new husband's response be if the ex-husband said to him, well, look at homie, your wife called me when your lights was turned off. So she got to come over here and put some work in also. Make some dinner, make these beds, come rub my back in the shower and all that there. Well, what you mean that's your wife? Well, it wasn't your wife when you had her calling me for some money.
Well, I made many points there, Quanell. Initially, I don't see the husband-wife or even the ex-wife situation. I don't think it can be reduced to prostitution. I don't think this woman should owe someone sexual favors because she needed some money. I think the very suggestion is misogynist and ludicrous, and I disagree. But I know you disagree with that take, but let's go back
to fair exchange ain't no robbery.
I didn't call it robbery.
A fair exchange ain't no robbery.
I didn't call it robbery. I called it prostitution.
How's it prostitution?
Well, because you're expecting an exchange of sex in return for money.
Wait. So what is she expecting if he give her his money?
Well,
get the lights turned back on.
Hold on.
And so if I give you my money to turn your lights back on, come back over here at my house and help turn the lights off.
Okay, I get it, right? But I don't
Teddy
agree
Pendergrass,
with it.
you ever heard it? Turn off the lights.
There are some questions, right? So I would agree with you that it wouldn't be the man's responsibility, but one thing that wasn't addressed is whether or not this man was paying child support, right? And if this man isn't paying child support, then he absolutely needs to give her the money.
But what if he
is?
That's
a hard stop. Well, hold on. But that's all. It was not addressed. But if he, like so many men today that have had children and abandoned their responsibilities and went off into the world to live their lives and aren't taking care of business, well, if he's one of those guys, and there's a whole bunch of them, then he absolutely should have just given her the money without any question.
But she didn't make that allegation in that video.
I get it.
And if he was those kind of men, she'd have said something.
I get it. We don't know. But let's assume that he's paying his child support dutifully, and he is involved and active in his kids' lives, and like she said, they're on hard times, then I would have said, hey, I'm going to come pick up the kids. Let me know if, once you get your lights back on, I'll bring the kids back. I don't want to interfere with the custody order because that can be a crime in some situations. But let me. And if the mother refused, I'd have picked up and called CPS. I'd have called Child Protective Services right away and said, my children are in a home without electricity because they're not taking care of their business. Because you're not going to convince me that they didn't prioritize other things other than the light bill. You're not going to convince me that people.
But it could be really hard times. It could be really hard times.
Right.
Now, let me ask you a question.
It happened.
So if the ex-husband had told her, say, look, I realize you got a new husband, and I realize your lights are turned off. My child support is paid up. I can come and pick the kids up and get them back to you when the lights are turned back on. But if you expect me to go well beyond the call of duty now and give you some money to cut your lights back on, and you got a husband, well, then I expect something from you too.
I think that's ridiculous.
No, wait a minute.
You shouldn't be like, you got to come break up.
No, wait a minute. So now if the ex-wife can get his money for free, and he's paying child support, so he can't tell the ex-wife, if I'm going to give you this money, you got two choices. You can sit on it or spit on it. But the bottom line is, I'll be damned you get my money for free with your new husband, so y'all can lay up in cool air and watch Netflix out of my pocket, but then tell me I ain't got a right to ask your new wife to come on over here and make a daily deposit.
I don't think that we need to.
Well, then don't ask that man for his money.
Well, but there are other ways. You could say, hey, your husband could come over here and cut my lawn. You could do this, you could do that. And yes, there could be the fact that they
Wait a minute, though.
But the most
I agree with you.
Most people
she can go over there and cut the lawn. Edge it up too. Cut the weeds.
Okay.
Trim the bushes.
I think we're talking about different things.
What do you mean? Fertilize the lawn.
Okay. Again, I imagine.
Well, then leave your ex-husband alone then. Okay. Quit begging that man for his money.
Okay. But your children, you said you would pay the money.
I would.
Would you make your ex-wife come over there and service you?
No, I wouldn't, because I believe in forward forever, backward never. And look here, once I'd have moved on, baby, it's a wrap. But look, man, I got to be honest with you. For her attitude is the problem. That's what I have a problem with. Her attitude in that video is the problem. She had a very ungrateful attitude, a very indifferent spirit, like that man, the ex-husband, owes her something when you got a whole new husband in the house with you.
I will say it was also very clear that she wasn't missing any meals, right?
No,
like
she wasn't.
There wasn't no, I'm struggling, because I remember as a kid, having, we didn't have money, having an empty, primarily empty pantry, but it would be the stuff that I needed would be there, and that my mom would go without, right? Like,
have you ever heard of Uncle Earl?
Yeah, I have not.
You
heard
should
of Uncle Earl.
YouTube Uncle Earl.
Okay.
Because he gives very sound, intelligent advice, Uncle Earl. And he could have gave that young woman and the ex-husband and the new husband some sound advice how to handle the situation.
How would Uncle Earl suggest that be resolved?
He's got two favorite colors, green and gold. Gold for the honey and green for the money.
Okay, see, is Uncle Earl another one of your favorite pimps?
No, Uncle Earl's a very highly intelligent elder in our community. And the bottom line is,
I think they're intelligent pimps.
Two favorite colors. Gold for the honey, green for the money. You want my money? Come on with the. And I'm talking black, and I ain't talking black tie honey.
This is what shocks me about you, Quanell. Like sometimes,
well, then
when I've got,
ask your husband for the money and leave your ex-husband alone. Okay. Now, how you figure this man owe you something?
Sometimes it takes, because sometimes we get very religious Quanell, right? Who is very religious and very proper and believes in it. And sometimes we get Quanell, women should be paying for things with sex, Quanell.
No,
how do you reconcile those two?
I'm giving
Are you like Jekyll and Hyde?
No,
and is this Jekyll or is this Hyde?
No, I'm giving you the attitude that an ungrateful woman like that deserves. I'm giving you the disposition and the psychological approach that an ungrateful woman like that deserves. That woman spoke like he owed her something.
Maybe he walked out on her.
I can see why he walked out on her. She's crazy and she likes to weigh about 450. I don't think that's
fair. We don't know the whole story.
She's crazy, ungrateful, and she looked like the Goodyear tire man.
With the mother of their children, you wouldn't have this damn issue.
You
but
better
more
ask your
people
husband.
Need to stay married.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.